Well, it's official, another MMO has died. What does this mean for the industry, and why do Amazon games keep taking some massive L's? Let's jump in, let's talk about it. So Bandai Namco, who are making Blue Protocol, are going to stop making Blue Protocol. And that's a little bit of a shame. Blue Protocol was basically this PvE focused MMO, and it initially launched in Japan, and the plan was for Amazon Games to publish it in the West, but obviously that's not going to materialize. I'll read the message from them and then we'll talk about it. We regret to inform you that the Japanese version of Blue Protocol will be discontinued on Saturday, January 18th, 2025. As a result, we have also cancelled our plans to release a Western version of the game in collaboration with Amazon Games. We have enjoyed a strong relationship with Amazon Games throughout the development of Blue Protocol, and both of our teams are disappointed that we will not be able to deliver the game to the players around the world. I'll not fully read the rest, but basically they just want to say, yeah, they wanted to bring a world of anime style characters to you, where you could enjoy as a massive adventure as the main character of an anime. And they worked hard to prepare for its release, but they came to the conclusion that it will not be possible to provide a service that satisfies all of you. We deeply apologize for the sudden announcement. I mean, first, you don't need to make an MMO that satisfies everybody because, you know, that would probably fail. But it is, of course, a massive shame. Another MMO bites the dust, this time before it actually gets released for the Western audience. Now, I'm a little bit surprised by this, and I sort of wonder how much of it is to do with Amazon. For example, the game was already released in Japan. The bare minimum that they would have wanted to or needed to do before you released it elsewhere would have been convert it to English. Then just release it everywhere and be like, hey, we're not doing the other languages, you know, it's either that or we're not doing it. But at least then they would have made some money. At least then they might have got something back. Even if the game wasn't that great, at least they would have recovered some of their finances. So why did the game fail at all? Well, I personally haven't played it, but reading the interwebs today, it sort of sounds like that the end game loop simply wasn't very good. The combat was probably mediocre, which, you know, combat is a massive deal breaker for a lot of people, but the end game loop just didn't seem to be satisfactory. Apparently when they were adding new dungeons, it meant that the old dungeons were not really playable, so the end game never really got expanded. It just got changed. For me, one thing that sort of put me off Blue Protocol as a whole is the fact that there was no PvP. Now, I'm not a pure PvP Andy. Not every MMO that I play needs to be focused around PvP, but almost all the MMOs that I like have a little bit of PvP in sort of normally the shape of a battleground. Blue Protocol didn't have that. I'm not saying that's why the game has died. It might simply be an inexperienced team spending a lot of money to make a not very good product. But the visuals of the game, in my opinion, were very stunning. I actually really like the style. Yes, I know we've seen anime style graphics now, generally with like gacha games and stuff like that, but I still think that it looked good. The combat looked like it would potentially be enjoyable. Obviously, I haven't first-hand experienced that, but alas, it turns out I will never experience that. Now, what does this mean for the industry going forward? Are we in a bit of a rut? Are we in a bit of a desperation state? Potentially. And that's a bit weird for me because I actually sort of feel like we're ready for a good, big, popular MMO to come. It's just that none of them seem to be on the horizon. If we look at MMOs that are coming out in the next couple of years, like what do we actually officially have? Chronologically, the first one that might hit that kind of standard would be Throne and Liberty. Throne and Liberty is a beautiful tab target MMO being made by NCSoft and published by Amazon, who we'll get onto in a minute. Throne and Liberty's reception though has been relatively middling. However, I would say that NCSoft are doing a fantastic job with that game. They've been adding a lot of content, making a lot of changes, and generally going in positive directions. However, there are people like Force Gaming and others who are maybe not so keen on the combat, the pay to win, other things, right? I think even if you like Throne and Liberty, not many people are expecting it to be the next big greatest thing of all time, but it will be pretty high when it comes. And then what is there after that? Then what is there? What are we looking beyond Throne and Liberty? What do we have in actual terms of MMOs, like classic MMOs? Yes, we have Dune Awakening coming in early 2025, but that's mostly a survival MMO, probably more like Rust or Ark than say World of Warcraft, which is fine. Some people will enjoy that. I hope you enjoy it. For me, the Hagar Basin is sort of like the PvE leveling, but once you get beyond that, the actual end game is like a always on PvP area, the Deep Desert, which doesn't really seem like it would be the game for me, but I hope some of you enjoy it. But then we really don't have anything. For like games with actual sort of release windows that we have big hints for, we have maybe one. We have Chrono Odyssey, which is going to be at the end of 2025. And that was because it was in their financials. And yes, Chrono Odyssey looks great, but it's very early to start pinning your hopes on a game that's coming out probably in over a year's time. And that's it, right? What is there? There's Bellatorres, which we don't know anything about. There's Guild Wars 3, which is coming probably in like 5 to 6 to 7 years. There's the Riot MMO, which is going to be a similar time frame, if not longer. I mean, there's Classic Plus potentially in 2-3 years, which might be interesting. That's World of Warcraft, if you don't know what I mean. Obviously, we probably need to talk about Ashes of Creation, which is getting its alpha in October, but that's literally an alpha test. It's not a full game. I think the MMO genre is looking pretty damn barren, and it might be at some point that ZeniMax will drop the new MMO, but we haven't seen it. We don't know anything about it. Right now, I think the MMO genre is pretty stuck. People are just enjoying the current MMO. At the minute, that's probably World of Warcraft, but you know, we've just had a Guild Wars 2 expansion. ESO had an expansion earlier this year. BDO, I think, is getting one at some point this year. The old MMOs are sticking around, but the new ones are not necessarily materializing. And I think that's a shame, because I think there's a big appetite for a good MMO. I just don't think we've seen it yet. And Blue Protocol definitely is not going to be included in the conversation. Now, what does this mean for Amazon? So Amazon are publishing, or they were going to publish, Blue Protocol. That's been ditched. I sort of don't know the financial arrangement. I don't know if they would have given money to Bandai Namco to produce this game. As far as I know, Bandai they were struggling with the finances, by the way. I don't know if they went bankrupt, but there was some sort of news story a couple of weeks back. So I'm curious how much Amazon have lost here, if they've lost anything. What they keep losing at the minute is face. Their reputation not doing particularly very well. And the head honcho of Amazon Games, Christopher Hartman, didn't really help that lately when he sort of suggested that video games didn't have acting, and yet all of the motion capture and all of the voice actors were like, hey, what do you think we're doing? So sort of just stepping his foot into that when he didn't really need to. And I sort of feel like maybe he tried to warn us, because he spoke about how developing MMOs were quite expensive and how maintaining MMOs were quite expensive. So was he saying, or giving a little bit of a hint, that Blue Protocol wasn't going to make it? And is he saying that New World Eternum is very expensive to produce, and maybe in the long run that won't make it? Are Amazon Games now fully firmly looking ahead at Lord of the Rings? I mean, very, very possibly so. Sort of sounds like they want out of the MMO genre because they can't hack it. It's too expensive, and failures are very, very costly indeed. Of course, they're publishing Throne Unlimited this year, which I think will have a decent launch and will make them some money. I mean, after all, it does have some pay-to-win elements, and pay-to-win is profitable. But Amazon, they might be effectively done with the genre for a while until we see Lord of the Rings, and Lord of the Rings is going to be 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 years away. They're still trying to get the hook for that game. They don't even know what they're making yet. I don't want to come across as a doomer or anything in this video. Amazon are struggling, and the MMO genre not looking hot when things keep getting cancelled. I think like eventually a game will materialize, be it Chrono Odyssey, be it something like Bellatorres that just comes completely out of left field, or be it like the ZeniMax MMO, which I assume they will have learned a massive lesson from their previous MMO and will actually be incredible. But right now, to me, it looks like the MMO genre as a whole is struggling. It's been struggling for a while, and that trend seemingly is continuing. Let's hope something comes soon though, because I'm desperate for it. That sounded weird. I'm off. Thank you to my Patreons. Thank you to the people who come and follow me on Twitch. Have a beautiful day. Like and subscribe. Goodbye.